Dustin Paschal again with Simon Paschal Says. So today we've got something a little bit different for you. If you read our newsletter that we put out on a quarterly basis, you can find those on our website, or you can contact us and get on our mailing list. But if you read those, you see that we've got a new thing in the newsletter, or somewhat new thing, where it's kind of an opinion column from Paul and I here at Simon Paschal. Kind of our thoughts on the best way to operate in the HR world or in the employment law world. And in our most recent newsletter, we did a topic that also, if you've seen me out on the Human Resource Chapters speaking tour, you've seen me speaking on employee discipline and how we think you ought to do employee discipline. And one of the big things that we start with, and that's in that opinion column, is kind of what we think it might be a shocker to some HR professionals, but what we believe the problem is with performance improvement plans, or PIPs. A lot of HR professionals use PIPs as a form of discipline, and as a result they're kind of self-defeating. When employees go into a PIP situation, they assume that the employer is giving them that PIP just as a way to kind of satisfy a few preliminary steps before they terminate them. So most employees believe there's nothing I can do to really satisfy this PIP, I'm on my way out, and so as a result they don't really put any effort into the PIP. And then as a result of that, they fail the PIP, and the employer says, I gave you the chance, you didn't satisfy the PIP, and now you failed, you're out. And it's kind of like this self-defeating cycle, when that's really not the point of a PIP. If you think about the name of the PIP, it's called a performance improvement plan. The point of a PIP is to improve an employee's performance. So what we say, or what I've said in this speech, is kind of think of it, compare it to your child's situation. So if you have a child who is trying their best at their schoolwork but just not understanding it, you get them a tutor. But if you have a child who's just not doing their homework and just not trying, you might ground that child, some discipline. The same kind of thing exists in the workplace. If you've got an employee who's not doing something on purpose, they're just not showing up to work, or they're just constantly showing up late to work, that's discipline. But if you've got an employee who's trying and just not getting it, that's where the performance improvement plan comes into play. So don't think of your performance improvement plan as a step in your progressive disciplinary process. It shouldn't be. Discipline is a written warning, a second written warning, and a suspension and termination, or however you do your progressive discipline. But don't use the PIP as a form of discipline. Now, it may take some time, but if you start to use that PIP the right way, you're going to develop a culture where your employees understand that the PIP isn't necessarily a negative thing for them. It's a way to help them. It's a way to say, hey, in 90 days, I hope we can get you there with these tools. And don't get me wrong, the PIP can result in a termination. If you put an employee who's struggling, trying but struggling, on a performance improvement plan, and they just can't get it at the end of whatever period you've given them, then you may have to terminate or move them to a different job. And it's not because they're a bad person, it's just because they can't satisfy the responsibilities, the functions of the job. But don't use it as discipline. If you've got an employee who's not showing up to work on time, there's no reason to put them on a performance improvement plan that says at the end of 90 days, you need to be showing up to work on time. Well, why don't they just wait until the 90th day and show up on time and say, I satisfied it by the 90 days. No, if they're not showing up to work on time, they're disciplined and they remedy that problem immediately. It's not a performance improvement plan issue. So when you're going through all of your functions at work and kind of spending that time, that little free time you have as an HR professional, figuring out how to improve your processes, we would encourage you to look at your performance improvement plan process and pull that out of your disciplinary procedures and processes and make it a true performance improvement plan. So there's a little opinion piece there for you from Simon Paschal Says. We'll see you next time.